Edu-Magicians, welcome to the Edu-Magic Podcast with your host, Dr. Sam Fessich. Dr. Sam is a professor of education, author of Edu-Magic, and a pumpkin spice latte fan. This podcast is designed for pre-service teachers. Remember, friends, teaching doesn't begin at graduation, but during that first class at 8 a.m. Let's get this party started.
I'm Andrew Murata, host of the Education, Leadership, and Beyond podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you are listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey friends, it's Sam Fessich back with another episode of the Edu-Magic Podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to the amazing Arlin Roth today. I met Arlin, I want to say 3-4 years ago, maybe. It could have been later, it could have been sooner. But we met at a conference called P&C, the Pennsylvania Educational Technology Consortium. Maybe it's something like that. But we met and Arlin was presenting about ed tech tools, and he is truly amazing. And I was a volunteer and I got to introduce him, and it was so much fun to get to know him and sit in on his presentation. He has so much to share with educators and administrators and future teachers just like you. So I can't wait to get started today. Arlin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. And thank you for that introduction. It was a neat way to meet at P&C, and you by far gave the best introduction I've ever had for presenting a session. So thank you for that. And in the process, we both made a friend. So that's great.
Absolutely. And that's what conferences are all about, networking and getting to know new people. So let's hop into our conversation today. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about your journey into teaching and becoming an educator?
Sure. When I was growing up, I didn't want to be a teacher. My dad taught fifth grade for close to 40 years. And just looking at what he did and actually having him as a teacher for fifth and sixth grade, I just thought that was something I did not want to do. So I went to college, majored in biology. But after the first year, I decided that I was going to pick up secondary education. And I did that because I knew I enjoyed working with people. I enjoy learning new things. I like teaching people things. And I also had an interest in working as a coach. So that's how I ended up as a teacher.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit what it was like to have your dad as a teacher.
In fifth and sixth grade, it wasn't that bad. We were from a small community. So, everybody knew when they saw the last name Roth, they would say, "Are you Mr. Roth's son?" Well, obviously I am. And I knew what they meant. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't too bad. But I feel a little bit of sympathy for students that do that in middle school and some do it in high school.
Yeah, I think it must be tough having a parent as a teacher because they know all the ins and outs then of your classes and when grades are due and when you should have gotten feedback on that one test. So, yeah.
Yeah, I learned at a young age that even though my dad was in a different building, there weren't any secrets. If something happened, he knew about it before we got home. So that was important to know.
All right, Arlin, can you think back to your college days whenever you're getting certified to be an educator? Do you have a favorite teaching moment during that time?
I remember being very cautious during my student teaching to build relationships. It's been a while. It's been 30 years since I graduated. So yes, I'm old. But I remember at the time there were some at their philosophy was don't smile until Thanksgiving. And that wasn't what I was told, but I think that's what some teachers did and what some teachers thought student teachers should do. So I think at that time, it was a little bit of, it took me a while to gain some confidence, but when I got my first teaching job, I felt much more comfortable, and it certainly wasn't a no smiling school. So that went much better. But one piece of advice that I got from an education professor, he encouraged all of us not to look down on students that don't take traditional college courses. He told us that people that work with their hands can have the satisfaction at looking what they've accomplished at the end of the day and seeing that. And when you teach, you can't see that. You can't look at a group of students and see, what they learned or what was accomplished.
Oh, that's so important. I love that that statement of when people work with their hands, they can see what they did, and that they accomplished this tangible thing. With teaching, sometimes it's not like that. Like maybe at the end of a lesson, we can see like a pre-test and a post-test, but it might take months or years of maybe a student coming back and saying how you impacted their life. It's not a immediate, this is what I accomplished today. That's really important. Thank you. What's some advice regarding the areas of EduMagic that you have for future teachers?
EduMagic in front of me, and I have some post-it notes in it and have some highlighting. But yeah, the digital presence section was one of my favorites. And the quote that you had, or the question, what would you think of yourself if you search for your name as a professional? And I'm getting ready to train new teachers in our school district in just a couple of days. And that's something that we do. We look for them online, and it's better to have a positive digital presence than not to have any.
So whenever you're working with your new teachers coming up in a few days, a few weeks, and you're going to be talking about digital presence, is there anything that you're going to be working with them so they can leave with something tangible? Or are they going to be searching for themselves, be thinking about ways that they can harness their digital presence for educational good?
We do talk about professional boundaries. Our district has specific policies telling teachers not to friend students. But we also encourage them to use social media to promote the good things going on in their classrooms. We have a policy that allows teachers to share photos of students unless the parent asks that we don't. So that makes it much easier for teachers to share what's going on.
So when teachers are sharing what's going on in their classrooms, should student teachers be looking to that form that parents fill out, whether or not their child could be on social media if they're trying to tweet stuff out? How important is it that our student teachers and future teachers are also looking at that policy?
It's important that they know whether or not it's acceptable to share photos of students. Some schools, some districts, it's not. And they only use photos where you can't identify students, or some will put like a little smiley emoji over the student's face. So it's really important to know if that's okay or not before things are shared.
I totally agree. So when you're encouraging your teachers and your practicing teachers to share out the cool stuff that's going on in their classroom, can you give us a couple of ideas that student teachers, field teachers, and new teachers can be thinking about, things that they can post from their classroom on social media? What are some great ideas that your teachers are posting?
During the first couple of days of school, several of our principals did a great job of just some real quick snapshots of what's happening in classrooms, and letting the parents know, yes, your children are okay, but they're also working right away. We get some fun pictures from times when some of our primary students will take a brain break and maybe do a Go Noodle or a Just Dance kind of activity to blow some steam off and have some fun and get moving a little bit. Those are usually things that parents like to see.
Oh, I love that. That's so much fun too. And it could also be fun for the teachers to show off their dance moves, or lack of dance moves in my case.
Right. I usually just watch and kind of stay at the back. If they invite me to join, I just kind of say, thanks, but probably not today.
So when we talk about digital presence, something that, we've kind of alluded to already is social media and having a professional learning network. How do you work with that with your teachers? Do you, maybe do a group Twitter chat, or give them a list of people that they can follow? Or how do you encourage them to get connected with others outside of the building?
I've become very involved with helping teachers develop personal learning networks and working with social media through the EduSpire graduate courses. There are a couple of those courses that I serve as the instructor, and one of the units or one of the requirements is getting involved with social media. And some of the teachers that I work with that are a little more experienced, usually there's some pushback. I've had teachers just flat out tell me, I hate Twitter and I don't want to do it. And so I usually say, well, is there something else that you use? Do you use Facebook? Do you connect in other ways? But a couple of important things of taking advantage of that is, there are so many resources outside of our own buildings and our own school district that if we're not connecting into those, we're missing out.
I absolutely agree. I think it's so important for people to see what's going on outside of their schools, outside of their districts, around the world when it comes to education. It can only help us and challenge us to be the educators of excellence that we are. So when we go back to EduMagic, is there anything else you wanted to share in that area with my listeners?
The one quote that I really like, and it might be my favorite one from the whole book, where you'd say, be a person of integrity in all of life. That way you don't have to worry about what people might find out about you. I just think that's great advice for everyone, and especially for educators.
Absolutely. I think as teachers, we're in that area of service, and we want to serve and share and help our students. And so as long as you're doing that and you're doing that with integrity, you can just be honest in your walk of life. All right. So we're going to switch gears a little bit here, and we're going to think for our future teachers, or maybe those who are student teaching this semester, or maybe they just graduated. Do you have a piece of advice you would like to share with our pre-service teacher friends who maybe just graduated, or they're just about to embark on student teaching?
For teachers who are student teaching and getting ready for that job hunt, my advice would be, don't be discouraged if you don't find a teaching job right away. Sometimes jobs open up during the school year. Sometimes long-term substitute positions lead to full-time employment. And subbing gives you a chance to get to know a school and a district and see if it's a good fit for you, but it also gives you a great opportunity to show them what you can do. Very few people land their dream job as their first job.
Absolutely. I love how you shared that subbing can give you a chance to get to know that district and see if it's a good fit for you. It's so important that we just don't sign on the dotted line because we need a job. We sign because it's a fit. We fit the district well, and the district fits us and our mission and our needs. What are some ways you think a student teacher or someone who's going into sub can kind of feel out a district before, they sign on that dotted line? What are some things that they might want to look for when it comes to seeing if they're a good fit for that district, or if that district is a good fit for them?
I think they should definitely look at the official school district website, see what the district posts, what do they share. Depending on the district, you may be able to learn a lot about their procedures, their philosophy of discipline. Some might even share curriculum resources. It's great if you know someone personally who works there, or if you know a parent who has children in the district, because that'll give you a different perspective hearing from parents of children.
Absolutely. And a great way to get to know people who work in that district could maybe to reach out in your PLN and see, if they can give you the inside scoop, maybe come and observe or check out a district. I think that's really important to leverage your PLN in that way as well. And how can my listeners find you online?
The best place to find me is on Twitter, and you can find me at Roth Tech Tools.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I pop that into the show notes. Thank you so much, Arlin, for your time this morning. I had a lot of fun on this episode, and I know my listeners have lots of great nuggets of information. Thank you so much today for your time, Arlin.
Oh, thanks for having me. I've had fun too.
All right, guys. Until next time, remember, you have the Edu Magic within you.